This is Ian. And that piece was one of the first pieces of music that Vera ever taught me. I had just turned 5 years old and had just started working with her. It's been an amazing relationship over the years. She's taught me an awful lot, and I went through 3 different phases of working with her during that time. The first phase, how I got to meet Vera, was actually purely by luck. At the time, my sister was taking a piano lesson, and I was sitting on the couch listening. When the lesson was over, everybody left the living room, and as the family story goes, I crawled up on the piano bench and started playing what I'd been listening to all that time. And apparently I played it better than my sister did, because everybody was suddenly in the living room listening to me and watching me, and the doctor said to my parents, "You've got to take him to see my son's teacher." Well, my parents took me, and I auditioned, and it's funny because years later, in the back of a songbook that I found was a letter from Vera to my parents. And I don't know if it'll come out on the camera, but there it is. Please note, since Ian is so exceptional, it is so much to his advantage to begin now rather than wait until you'll be financially able. I've decided to make him my only scholarship student. I have to give a big thank you to Vera, because if she hadn't done that for my parents, I would have never had the opportunity to work with her. But she did, and so I started working with Vera, and I don't remember much about those early days, to be honest, only being 5 years old at the time. But I do remember that Sydney and I used to spend a lot of our time before our lessons playing with the puppies. There was a new litter, and we each picked out our favorite, and there was one there that was no doubt my favorite. And every time I came, he would come to play with me, and I would seek him out so I could play with him. And one day, Vera, she gave my parents that puppy, and that became my boyhood dog, the dog I grew up with for the next 14 years of my life. We named the dog Pepsi. My mother tells the story that we brought him home in a pink blanket wrapped up. And, I can't ever express the thanks to Vera for my dog. Here's a picture of me and him. This is in the backyard at my house when I was about 7 years old. That's me and Pepsi. Well, that meant a lot to me, but I guess getting back to the music, that first period of working with Vera, she taught me a lot that I know I can't really tell you how it affected me, but it gave me a great confidence that I could play the piano and I could learn music and I could play anything I wanted to. I was somebody that played by ear, and she said to take that gift and run with it. But when I came back as a teenager, those are days with Vera that I remember much better. I took my piano lessons then on the piano in the kitchen. I remember that very well. And then I would go downstairs in the basement and work on some exercises in the pianos down there. And then eventually come up to the living room where the master classes were going on, where there would be anywhere between 10 people on any given night and probably 30 or 40 people. And I would sit and get to know all the students. The, quote, older students would be taking their lessons at the 2 grands that were interlocking. I don't remember any of the specifics, but I know, again, that it influenced me greatly later on in my life. Finally, I stopped again when I went off to college. And when I came back from college and got an apartment, I bought myself a clavinova, started playing again, and one day I showed up on Vera's step. And it was unbelievable to me because I went unannounced, but she recognized me, she remembered me. We started working on the classics again. It's funny because I actually tell people that story a lot because I think Vera had about 10 pianos in her house when I worked with her as a teenager, and I'm getting up there now myself. She actually helped me pick out this grand piano with my mother about 10 years ago, and she played it and she helped me pick it, and I ended up with it. But I also still have my original piano from my parents' house, my clavinova, and about 4 electric keyboards. So I'm up to 7 and getting close. Anyway, when I worked with Vera again, we started working on classical pieces of music, just the 2 of us. And again, I was playing things that I didn't think that I could really play. We worked on Mozart and Gershwin and Beethoven, Chopin, all kinds of things. it's an understatement to say the influence that she's had on my life. She's with me all the time. I'm surrounded by music at all times, whether it's the band or I sit down on a weekend to play some classical, or I'm listening in my car, or I'm going to some sort of an event in New York, a musical event. It's just with me all the time. I'm still working on a screenplay that I started that I told Vera about on the life of Van Cliburn. It's just always with me. But the thing that really Vera has influenced me in the most is my confidence that I can play any piece of music. And that has carried me far. And I'm sure it's carried me far, not just musically, but in other areas as well. I've never been somebody with stage fright, and I've always believed that I can tackle and accomplish any piece of music. I know that because there are pieces of music that I played in my last time working with Vera that I really, when I look at them now, because I'm rusty, I would think that, how could I play this? I'll listen to Rhapsody in Blue for piano solo, and I'll listen to it on a CD, and I'll have the sheet music with me flipping through it, and I'll say to myself, how is it that I ever played this? But I know I did. I played it from beginning to end, and I played it well. And that's really the greatest thing that I can say about Vera. I think a good teacher has a vision for their student that they can accomplish more than they can see themselves. And they can communicate that to their student also, but it's a great teacher that actually gets the student to be able to achieve that level that they didn't see for themselves. And that's what Vera always did for me. She had a vision for me that went way beyond what I could see, and she got me to play those pieces of music. She got me to have the confidence that I could play anything at any time. And it's not just classical, it's the songs I learned from my band. I know that I can learn and play anything today. And so my love of music, my boyhood dog, the confidence that I carry with me everywhere I go, I attribute all of that to all my years of working with Vera.
What about Ian?
Ian started off with me, and we walked in the doorway of my home. It's another house I owned, and this little person stood between his mother and father, and he just emanated a kind of energy that seemed like everything was there. You could feel who he was. He had a great smile, shy, and he understood. He just understood what was happening. He was young, very young, and he developed into a very fine musician. It was absolutely amazing. And I went there and really allowing him to explore many things before the slow pace of disciplining him into a fine craftsman of what he had. We had a very deep connection. Really able to really perceive what music is about. And he really had his own way of going about and putting things together. And I never tampered with that. It seemed a very distinctive style that belonged to him. And I was very grateful that I could see that for him, not to mold him in some kind of image that you're supposed to do everything right for the sake of getting it right, but for the sake of getting it clearly accurate, but not for the sake of, destroying his love of what he was doing,